From now on, like that's the main focus. We need to be testing more about, like, let's say more images, carousel versus no carousel, or try a vertical video or vertical image versus a horizontal, short text copy versus the longer form one. And you just have to focus on trying to find that one creative that is working well and that you can keep expanding on.
Do you think this is going to move us in a position? Because one of the things I asked Manuel on Saturday was blitzkrieg method, where you test tons, right? And you're just testing tons, or try to find those one or two, three really, really good creatives and spend the extra time to do it.
We need to find the few creatives that are going to be good, but first you need to find the one. I mean, most of us don't even have one that we're like, oh, this is killing it, and I'm gonna, I can scale with this. Because once you find that one creative that is working and is getting you ROAS consistently, day after day, that same creative can actually help. Like, you can take that post ID and then you can start creating other campaigns. Let me see, Daniel, do you know how to get a post ID from an ad?
Yeah.
Okay, good. AJ, do you know how to do that?
Yeah.
You know, AJ knows. Okay, good. This is actually one of the most important things that you need to know how to do, because sometimes when you have that one creative that's working, even if it's working a little bit, you can start to take that and then test it against other audience. But taking the post ID is going to preserve all of the engagement that you already have on it. And not just because it looks good for social proof, but also because the algorithm is already learning based on all of that data that post ID is holding. You can then take it to other audiences and it's going to know exactly who to show it in that audience. I mean, in theory, but the theory does work out so far. That's how it's been.
Would you think that this is going to push more towards that clickbaity style ad that's really attractive and funny, like Harmon Brothers type, where they get tons of engagement because if you have a broad audience, it gets a lot of engagement. Facebook can filter it down to your core. But if you have a creative that doesn't get that, Facebook may never be able to show it to the right people.
If you don't do what? The last part?
Well, remember, if you're doing the audience expansion, Facebook's trying to find who your core audience is, right? But if your creative speaks to the masses, it's going to get a lot of engagement. Facebook may not know who the core people are. So maybe the creative has to both be engaging and really, really hyper speak to that person, the fish you're trying to lure the bait with.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, like, going back to what we're saying, is like your creative has to do the selling. It has to present the problem. It has to present your service or your product as the solution. Now, keep in mind though, like, it doesn't have to be this complicated big production either, kind of like the Harmon Brothers. I mean, that definitely helps, and we have people on the team that are going to help you do stuff like that. But then you also need to have some other stuff that you can test that it's not like that. Let me give you an example. Actually, I just sent Daniel something that I saw that I was targeted with, actually, and I'm like, look, we got to test this for. So we have a customer that it's a lawyer, and they're trying to get leads. This was actually an ad right here. And we're trying to see how can we make this into an ad that would be for our customer who's a lawyer, who's trying to get leads of people that want to make a claim on their house because it was built incorrectly. Okay, but check it out. So the person in the video is doing the talking, but you can see that they're using the text in here. And this is actually done with a computer. I could tell it was not done with the TikTok ad. Especially that gave it away for me, that flashing text or whatever. But the point is that it does look very native. It looks very like something that just any kind of person, any influencer would upload to their TikTok. So a couple things that stands out from the beginning to tell you. You see how he's walking up to the computer here? And then the text says, I found an easy tool to compare and buy car insurance. He's saying the same thing in the video too. But just the fact that it's walking at the very beginning, that motion, like I've talked about in the past, that there has to be that motion at the very beginning to grab your attention. And then as long as what you're saying, is going to stand out to you and hook you, then you're going to keep watching a little bit more. So this guy says, I found an easy tool to compare and buy car insurance. I think that's something that everybody, always. And then it says, and help me get almost 50% off. Hear me out. And he's saying, hear me out. So that's another like call to action, like wait until, or you could say something like, wait until the end and you'll see, or I'll give you a promo code, or wait until the end and you'll see why blah, 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 or whatever. You kind of leading them to watch the whole video, which is only 43 seconds, by the way. So the point is, I shared this with Daniel and I was saying, like, how can we apply this for the lawyer? So you could simply have like yourself, or you can have one of our video editors or Jimmy or something, right? Walk up to the computer and say, check out this website I just found. I own this home that this guy is advertising, and I just filled out this form on this website, and he's saying that he can help me get $134,000 for all my repairs. I already signed up, and they gave me a call, and they're super nice. They're gonna have somebody come out and inspect my house. So far so good. I just wanted to share this with all of you guys on social media or whatever, right? You could take that and make it into an ad. As long as you add the captions that make it look very native. I'm not saying it's going to work. I'm just saying we got to test something like that out. That same creative, style could be made to fit any kind of online, ad that we're running, basically.
Jorge, I have a point here to add to Daniel's point, how to qualify the creatives. We can see the thumb stopping ratio for any video ad that we create. It needs to be above 30% from the social savanna. I heard that it needs to be above 30% to be a good thumb stopping ratio. So we can create thumb stopping ratio inside our Facebook dashboard by custom metrics. And then we can just see that whether the video is matching the initial thumb stopping ratio or not. If it's above 30%, we know that the retention is there for that. If not, then we can try out several thumbnails on the video to further qualify and see whichever is attracting the most user, whichever is having the most clicks.
So Jorge, on that video where you have sort of that walk up, it's very native. So for something like DOD, does a human have to be in it, or can it just be showing the screen like that?
No, yeah, you could. That's a good point. You don't even have to be in the video. That's the answer to that. There's videos that are still actually running in the Natural Slim ad account that Dan actually helped create back in probably about a year now, actually.
The one with Jamie where she's shaking the little thing, that was a really good one.
Well, I helped with that one, but you know the ones that where you don't even show the face. You had Paola and you had
oh yeah, those
Neto.
are good ones. Yeah, with Mary V. Yes.
Yeah, Mary V. So all we did is we just had somebody's hands showing up.
So Jorge, in this new world where you're going to have to rely on audience expansion, are you saying that we're going to have to spend a little more to know whether our creative works or not? Because we're not going to be able to hyper target like we used to.
No, you don't necessarily have to spend more. It's actually still the same. Like, you have to look at the metrics on Facebook, like the click-through rate. We always want to see at least a 3% or more, and that shows you that people are interacting with the ad and they're liking it. If we're not seeing that, then usually you're not going to see the ROAS. Like, if you're seeing less than that and you're seeing ROAS, going back to our stable, datum is ROAS is always king, right? So whatever the other metrics say is irrelevant as long as you're getting ROAS. But my point is, you're still going to be like, okay, I'm going to spend, let's say your product is selling for $20. You can spend $20 testing that ad. And if you don't see even add to carts, or you don't see any click-through rates, you don't see any purchases, I mean, that's dead. Move on to another one.
So you're saying don't give a creative a little more time to sort of get, because sometimes you'll see that a creative may or may not work quick. Like when I have seen a creative work in $10-15, you can just tell it gives nothing.
Agree.
So you're saying even in this new world, that would be the case?
Yeah, even in this new world, that would be the case. If you start seeing likes, comments, shares, and interaction like that, you're on the right path. We let it obviously just keep running and see if you're going to get any purchases from it. If you don't, then that's obviously like we're not in the business of getting likes and comments. So you got to either try a different audience, because the ad did work, and right now I'm not saying that all audiences are dead. I'm just saying that we're moving in that direction in the next year. We're moving in that direction in the next year.
Daniel had a good question.
What's the question? Do you have like the 3 or 5 elements that must be in every creative to ensure the best chance of success? Okay, yes, I think I don't remember if I made a video about this or not, Daniel, but let's talk about video. Okay, so a video, first of all, and it matters if it's a cold or warm or retargeting or top of the funnel, right? So I'm going to just speak a little bit more general, because it could vary a lot depending on what you're trying to achieve with your video, right? But let's just assume you're trying to get conversions and you're making a video to sell an e-commerce product. Then first of all, make it short. Like, it can't be 3 minutes. It's got to be like a minute or less, or even 30 seconds or less. Most of my TikToks, and that's just content, I'm not trying to convert sales, but when I made it 15 seconds or less, that's when the TikTok started working better. And same thing with ads. When I'm making them, shorter, they're working way better. So a minute or less is kind of like one of your stable, datums there. Another one is you have to use some motion at the beginning of the video. Like I just showed you guys when the guy is walking at the beginning. It could be that walking, it could be maybe some flashing, it could be anything like that, but there's got to be some sort of motion that draws the person's attention into it. And then at the very beginning, you have to use some sort of a hook. And that could be really anything. I mean, that could be something you say. It could be the way that you position the wording there. It could be, maybe you show like kind of like the result of, let's say, what your product does. Like, I don't know, I'm just gonna say you're selling an ice cream scooper or whatever. You show the ice cream at the very end that looks super delicious or whatever. And then it's like, look how this ice cream scooper helped me make this ice cream. I'm just making something up, but it's like you start with the end product to capture that attention, and then you show them how your product can help you get to that part. Another thing I would say is that if whatever you can do to make it look native, such as adding some sticker gifs and little things like that you would find on an Instagram story, or adding text that looks native, like the same thing that you would get from an Instagram story or a TikTok video and things like that, that increases, that reality, and that it blends in way more to the social, and you're going to get a lot more out of that. And then finally, you can also use something that gets people to engage. So whether that be like saying something a little bit controversial, or whether that's asking a question or whatever, and then people are engaging and sharing with their friends and commenting on your video, and all that engagement and social proof is going to help you convert even more. B was saying something that he shared in Ad Creatives group that explains the best ads that converts at each part of the funnel. Yeah, see, because that's the other thing. It depends also, like, are you doing more top of the funnel? Are we doing retargeting ads? For retargeting ads, I would use a lot of social proof, or like reviews that are turned into videos. Those have actually worked very well. You can do an image of your product and then do a review text animated. It's just a still image, but it's like the text kind of animates into the video. And Oscar's asking, where do you start testing creatives? I mean, technically you should be testing them at all spots of your funnel, but like to start, well, you should start at the top of the funnel. So it's like with cold audience more than warm. Your warm is pretty much going to respond way better in theory, right? They should respond better than your cold. And the creative is helping you kind of gauge, like, are you on the right track? Are you reaching the right people? Are you saying the right things or whatever? And that's at the top. Like, because once they engage with it, once they watch the video, once they visit your page, once they add it to cart, all those warm audiences, you can retarget them, and you can not be as good as the top, and you'll still get results. So you want to focus on being like better at your creatives at the top of the funnel, at the start of the customer journey that they interact with your brand.
Yeah, I always got the idea you would test out at the bottom of the funnel, just because we did that kind of stuff for Green Straw, and then eventually duplicate that, and because it would get all the engagement and everything, and then we would duplicate it and run it on top of the funnel. So then more people would be like, oh, this is a cool product or whatever.
Yeah, I guess I got to see that, because I know with Green Straw, we had one video at the top where it was working, and then we would just retarget people that didn't convert. And then if the top one was working, getting conversions or getting add to carts and all that, then the bottom one is the one that we kept testing new creatives to pick up all of the sales that we didn't get at the top. So I think that's why in that particular account, we were doing it that way.
I think the key too is find out what's working and try to do more of it. If you have a winning ad, rather than go back to the drawing board and spend resources redoing things, put money in ads and variations into something that's already working, than trying to create something new from scratch.